Hey, how's it going, man?
You are live. You are live. Okay, so you have absolutely the best drip at base camp by
I
far, as far
I
as I'm
appreciate
concerned.
that.
You're representing the culture, um, and yeah, and we didn't get a ton of time to dive into what you're building, so pretty excited to be able to dive in here with you today. Uh, what's the gap in the world that you saw that made you guys lean in, take the big jump into building Emerge?
I would kind of define it more as an opportunity.
Okay.
I think with the advances in AI models, we have an opportunity to insert personalized content into places where we consume content. So instead of the algorithm just feeding us slop up based on what we think, we can actually insert ourselves into that conversation, create content that's personalized to us directly from the feed. And that's kind of the thread that I'm pulling on.
All right, so give us the concise description of what Emerge is doing.
So Emerge basically lets people participate in metas and trends directly on the timeline where things like this form, right? So you can just simply by interacting with our agent, you can create a content engine that anyone else can go get their personalized version of, like a content vending machine, if you will. We can make that content based on personalized inputs that we infer from you, like your PFP, for instance. But we could go as far as letting you pick from drop downs or whatever. Like you can insert yourself and get your version of that. And what it really allows is like if you're early to a trend and you recognize there's a trend, instead of the PvP that's happening on Pump or somewhere else for like what's the meme coin associated to that trend, you create the content engine directly where that trend formed. And then phase two of Emerge is like tokenizing those workflows so that you can actually take a position on that trend becoming viral.
Okay, so what is uh, help me understand what a trend is here. So is it like an image generator that we're sort of sharing feet? I mean,
Like
what is
I'll give you an example. The JD Vance like face getting bigger is a trend that I saw popping all over social media. And if you could create the engine where anyone could do that to their face or anyone else's face, right? You riff off the trend or you remix the trend, right? Or a real moment of inspiration for me was when OpenAI launched the image API and people were studio Ghiblifying themselves. And I was like, if you had been the person who had created the engine to do that and you profited every time someone used it, you basically were like taking a position on the market share of the attention of that trend. And we're giving you a product where you can like capitalize on being early to that trend and recognizing that other people are going to want to participate in that trend or conversation.
okay? So cool. I see a trend popping off. I like to make stuff. Um, you're suggesting that I get to make the model that ultimately makes the stuff. How does the value flow through there? Where's the incentive?
So I mean, the value flows through microtransactions right now. So like you tag the agent, we do all the heavy lifting. You don't have to be creative or technical to do this. You just say, "Hey, agent, I want to create something that does X, Y, Z." Right now, it's just images that remix your PFP, but that's like the lowest hanging fruit that I felt people would understand and instantly recognize. But it could be write me a blog post about this or make me a personalized TikTok video about this or whatever, right? And you just as the person who recognizes that other people are going to think this thing is going to be trending, you insert the first part of that flywheel where anyone can come in and interact with it and pay to interact with it to get their personalized output.
Okay, and so why would I want to pay for that personalized output?
I think, I mean, people are already doing this kind of stuff right now. They're going out to ChatGPT to make their own images, or they're going out to Gemini and Flux and making like personalized videos. And I think what we're creating is something that lets beyond the content creator, like just anyone, a lurker on social media can now doesn't have that writer's block, doesn't have that like friction to participate in the convo, and they can create content very easily without any chops, and it just lowers the barrier of friction to participate in a conversation.
Interesting. Okay, so you've chosen to launch on Farcaster, and I guess the big question, because I think there are like the core insight that you're pulling out here is like, okay, there's going to be this infinite remix culture. Um, we're probably going to see like a higher frequency, shorter duration of these memes. Um, People love to drop on trends, like all that I'm with, and then I think we've seen attempts at this, or people are building towards this in maybe vibe coded apps. They're building towards this in games. I think we had the remix on a while back. Um, And the big open question that I always have is like, how do you get me and where do you get me into where I become like a repeat regular user? Feels like there's still a ton of friction. You say yes, so you can go jump to ChatGPT. I mean, ChatGPT is a daily driver for me. And it's because of the totality of what it offers me that it just becomes like the default place I go for it. So it seems like sort of the ability to pull somebody into a space becomes the big friction point. How are you guys approaching that?
Yeah, the way I see it is I'm trying to like minimize how much distance there is from where the meme or the trend is birthed and where people can participate in it, right? Like ChatGPT lets you go get your own personalized version of that, but you can't create like the engine that lets everyone else go do that too. And that's kind of what our platform does in a way is it's tooling to almost like let you recognize the trend and let you create the inflection point where other people are participating in the trend. So cutting out the external like processes to do that. And I'm just a big believer of like trying to minimize the steps from where the moment happens to where you're inserting yourself into the moment. And
So
I
that's sort of
think
this agentic engagement piece here where you're just
that's
tagging.
why we went Farcaster first, right? Because we have wallets, we have users, we have programmable read and write all from the feed. And so we don't have to go anywhere else. And obviously scaling becomes an issue. Like how do we do that on other platforms, right? Like I would love to get to Telegram and base app group chats where you can do these things like within your group chats, right? And build a WorldCoin app so you can do this thing on WorldCoin as social networks start to evolve on WorldCoin. Twitter is doable, right? But it's a pain in the ass and it's really fucking expensive, right?
Amen to that, Jesus. Yes. Okay, so the other, I guess, big question I have here is sort of around the decision to lean into micro transactions and payments versus maybe this is not a complete one-to-one comparison, but to tokens, right? So, like, I think to use your example, we saw the JD Vance blown up face thing taking off. And I think Kyle from Clicker is out here evangelizing the Please token because he's like, this is the biggest meme for JD Vance. He's going to be around in politics for a while. It's undervalued, and I think there's sort of this like, you know, uh, trend we've seen over the last couple of years where maybe you're an NFT guy, right? We've seen sort of like the various NFT metas into sort of the open edition metas, and then into ultimately seeing that ERC20s or fungible tokens become the most compelling asset to own and uh, tease off volume there being a really great business model. So uh, help me understand why you're going after microtransactions rather than maybe trying to go after something that seems like it's a little bit more compelling.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the current iteration of Emerge, where you're just putting a quarter in the machine and getting something out, was really like an MVP.
Okay.
And we're actively talking with the Doppler team a lot to go to the next phase, which is going to be tokenizing these workflows, right?
Okay.
So what I want to create is almost like a similar to Pump.Fund's graduation metrics, but more like a social graduation. So if your workflow starts to trend, let's say like X amount of people have now run it, and we're seeing it's trending, we can give you the option to actually launch a token against it. And all the earliest users of that can be airdrop some of the token. You, as the creator of that workflow, will retain a share of the token. And then we will pair that token up to the Emerge token, almost like the Zora Virtuals model. I'm It's kind of like a hybrid of like in between the content coin and the creator coin. It's
Okay.
like the workflow coin, like it's the content creator coin, if you will. So it gives you the ability to speculate that workflow is going to go viral and you can get like take an early position on it, and we're going to make it where when you pay to generate you can also like buy on the open market that workflow's token in one atomic transaction. So like the earlier you are, the better market cap you're getting into and more of the token you're getting for like being early.
So I love having these conversations with folks like you. There's every incentive in the show for us to just chase the biggest guess with the most success, right? We had Andre on yesterday, pumped our view streams quite a bit. But to me, the most interesting conversations are with people who see the world a little bit differently and are early in that journey because they're sort of forced to go figure it out quite aggressively. Um, I see here they sort of note that the VCs weren't super interested in what you're doing, and so you said, "Fuck it, let's rip a token." Tell me about that experience.
Yeah, so like Emerge is like the second coming of a product called Mprops, which is a pretty advanced AI workflow studio that my co-founder had been working on for the last 3 years, and it's an amazing, like, it's like Zapier for AI workflows. You can go from LLM to Stable Diffusion to video, and you chain these things, and it creates a recipe that's like repeatable. But like the AIs, the VCs weren't super interested in just like a AI wrapper, if you will. And I said we have to dumb the UX down here where anyone can use it and make it super easy. And so agents and LLMs and mini apps, like the confluence of those three things, allowed us to create a UX that was super simple for anyone to not consume, not only consume but also create. So they can play both sides of the coin. They can make money simply by tagging a bot with an idea, right? And so that's kind of like that's like the iteration of going from Mprops to Emerge. And yeah, I think we launched the token because we didn't want to wait. And we the Clanker community is amazing, and we've been talking to Austin from Doppler and the Clanker team, and I've been able to basically bring in enough swap fees on the just on the launch to cover development for the next 3 months with the team that I have put on this, and I'm making enough every day that like 1 week's worth of Clanker fees right now is probably covering my development costs for the month, and then the rest of what I make on the month I can use to spend on partnerships or airdrops or whatever other growth mechanisms I want to like pull on, and I didn't have to wait to close a check to do that.
I didn't want to wait. I mean, that's this. I've been thinking a lot about just like what we constantly think. What do founders want, right? Like, what do you really want? And I think one of the things is really just the ability to accelerate. And I think that's why I'm really stoked to be an early stage investor. And it is, I think, really what gives me a lot of excitement around, I guess, this broader internet capital markets vibe. I always do approach it with some skepticism, though, because I think we've seen that volume can be a fickle partner in a lot of this sort of stuff. And so there is sort of this like tightrope to walk here where we had Bobby from DuPont earlier this week. They earned a couple $1 million worth of dupe fees, but almost all of that came in their first week, I think is what he said. Um, and then I'm also really cautious about the impacts it has on future fundraising
Yeah.
potential here. So I'm curious. I mean, I'm looking at your Emerge token. It's $sign Emerge. It looks like you've really tried to take a more long-term approach here. Like there is, I guess a meaningful, especially out of sort of the ICM era, amount of tokens that you're holding back. I'm assuming is giving you the flexibility to invest or raise or yada yada. I mean, how have you sort of thought about that?
Yeah, I mean, I thought about this for the last 3 months, and it was like very. I asked a lot of people. I even asked you at the Vermont conference about this, and I mean, I may have gone against what a couple of people recommended, but it's the position that I was in. Like to keep the team I had in place, I had to do it. I
Mm-hmm.
could. They were going to go get other jobs, go work on other projects. I had to. Action produces results, and so that I took action. But I took a calculated action, right? Like I have vaulted 35% of the token, and part of that is because I want to have a pool so that I can take on capital, traditional VC capital at some point. Obviously, I know now that the market is pricing my company based on my token. So my job is like, what can I just got to keep fucking shipping to make the token get to a valuation where I'm comfortable to go ask for money now in a traditional sense, knowing that I'm going to be giving up a equal share of equity in the token. So
Right.
I know the work I have cut out for me, but it's to me it felt manageable. It felt doable. And so I'd rather keep that plan in play than kind of just wait and see if I could get VC money before I launch the token.
Yeah, man, it's what I love, frankly, the most about crypto. I think the last little while has really been, I don't know, the vibe has sort of been more institutional, I would say, and like the big winners have been, even the ones that seem like they're organic in some way, like say Aster coming up to compete with Hyperliquid. It's like, okay, CZ, like it's sort of these incumbents really having the mainstay, obviously Plasma being the other one here. And so, and yet I think to me the most exciting part is just how are we expanding access to markets and funding, ownership, participation, all those things, I think are just, I don't know, that's the weird part of crypto that I just hope really grows and blossoms rather than get sort of glossed over as the
Yeah.
institutional wave comes in. So just taking action, I mean, it makes a ton of sense. And
The way
yeah,
that I see the token is like, I'm not giving up equity in my company. I'm giving you a prediction market to bet on me as a founder and bet on how quickly I can ship. And I'm
okay.
owning that market. The fees I make on that are me owning that market. It's not me saying buy equity in my company.
I do love that as sort of a prediction. Yeah, that's good framing. And there's also something about the alignment here, right? Like you're
Incentive
really,
alignment as well, exactly. Like
yeah,
my top users are my top holders. My other Clanker founders are the top holders. People that I'm in the Sky Network partnership are token holders. And so I created incentive alignment to hold my token because you think I'm going to ship cool shit.
love it. I mean, you're sitting at about $1 million FDV right now. It's you didn't see a huge dump off after you launched the token. I mean, these are all positive things. You're doing something right. Um, yeah, I'm fascinated with this. All right, well, I mean, put a fine point then. Like the token holders, future token holders, are asking for a roadmap here. I know they are. They're just saying, "Tell me what comes next." So, what should people expect over the next little while?
Yeah, we have multiple streams going right now. We're gonna get GIFs out soon in video, so other types of rich media basically on the feed. That's what you can expect from the model side. We're always keeping track of what are the latest, both API driven models like OpenAI and Google, and stable diffusion like open source type models. We can support both. The tokenization of workflows we're rapidly working on because we want to participate in that meta. I'm trying to bring all the important primitives together: microtransactions, tokens, prompt based AI, agents, all that kind of stuff into one cohesive user experience. And that's kind of like what you'll get out of me is just like, I'm a extremely crypto native, half degen, and I know what people are interested in, and I'm a product guy. I before this I was building Rodeo at Foundation, so I have a lot of experience in crypto social. And prior to that, I've been running an agency building all kinds of stuff in the NFT and Web3 space. So yeah, I take my learnings and I iterate on them very, very quickly.
I mean, the definition of betting on yourself, and I think when people sort of look from the outside, it's like, what have you done in the past that makes me more likely to think that you're going to win in the future? And I mean, yeah, clearly you've had your hands in some really interesting things. So, all right, brother. Well, again, I love these early stage conversations. I think for me, one of the most privileged opportunities that I think I get is playing in early stage ventures. I get to sort of talk to people and make sense of the world through their eyes. 'Cause I just feel like I'm not that smart, really, at the core, right? Like I just like, and every time I think I'm smart, it's probably a really bad sign, right? It's like maybe more ego than anything else, and it's a fun dance, right? But I think you have to kind of you have to have like some belief in the future. Clearly, you got to update it, but the way to kind of do that in a sustainable compounding way is through conversations with people who see the world or looking at a different part of the world and sort of drawing those conclusions together. And so, again, that's why we
I'm
started the
I'm a
show.
lot like you, to be honest. I spend my day talking to people building stuff. That's kind of like what my full-time job is helping people build stuff. And I think more importantly than being smart and intelligent is being able to like remix, right? Like take the tidbits that you're learning along the way and implement them into what you're working on. And if you can do that rapidly and quickly and effectively, you don't have to be the smartest guy in the room. You just have to be the fastest mover.
Okay, what if I'm not smart and I'm slow? Atown.
Bring people around you that are faster than you, and delegate. That's what I do.
That's the move right there. Our brother, I love the higher drip. I think sort of showing, yeah, again, I was at base camp and just seeing the amount of cultural references that you had on yourself at any one time that I think you made yourself was just,
This one right here is my new one. It's my Market Cap by Jack Butcher.
oh fuck, that's good.
It's
That's
very,
good.
very good, right?
The culture, baby. Hey, Town, appreciate you hanging out with us today. Wish you all the best. And yeah, dude, fucking rock and roll.
Thanks a lot, man. It was a pleasure to be here.
Cheers.